What platform do you get the most engagement and sort of the best interaction with right now?
A lot of people are too hung up on, oh, how many likes do I get? How many comments do I get? But actually what you want to look at is your content being served. So the metric we want to pay attention to is not how many views, likes, things like we want, how many impressions. It's not about engagement, it's about impressions.
Welcome everyone. We're here for another episode of The Flow Show. This is number 213 with John Lee. He does so many different things. Mentor, he's a speaker, he does investing, he's got all kinds of stuff we're going to dive into today. John, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for the time.
Jeff, it's always a pleasure being here, man.
Yeah, I love it that when I'm in the UK, come to your house, you're here, and Miami came by yesterday to mine, and then we get to do this today. So tell us first of all, what were you doing in Miami specifically this trip?
So podcast interviews, meetings, but we also did a big conference out here that I was keynoting at. It's called EXP, and there's about 5,000 people there. So my talk was specifically about how is the market landscape changing. So people now using AI, they're using artificial intelligence in a way that is now starting to replace jobs and now suddenly becoming organizations. So AI can now run an entire company. So my talk was really all about that. But also, I've never been to Miami before. So I'm like, hey, Jeff's in town. Yeah. Let's go and see Jeff as well.
I love it. I love it. And today now, social media, you have over 6 million followers. What platform do you feel is the most, that you get the most engagement and sort of the best interaction with right now?
So here's the thing. It's not about engagement. It's about impressions.
Okay.
Right. So a lot of people are too hung up on, oh, how many likes do I get? How many comments do I get? But actually what you want to look at is the metric is your content being served? Right. So if I go into a video, I can see that, for a lot of the time, I think I showed you this the other day, that only maybe 5% of my followers see my content. So from 1 million views, I get a very small amount that actually see it. So the metric we want to pay attention to is not how many views, likes, things like we want, how many impressions. How did YouTube or Instagram or Facebook serve this to people, and how many people saw it? I did a little test, and this is my little inkling, that a brand new account gets sometimes more engagement than an account that has over 100,000 followers. Wow. Why? Because a brand new account needs to search for its new audience, and then the platforms just push it out to everybody, and they see what sticks, and that's what forms your community and your audience. Very,
very interesting. And you're now on the road. How much of the year are you actually traveling?
200 days this year.
200 out of 365.
Yes.
Wow. That is and how has that changed in the last 5 years since we last time I saw you in the UK?
In the UK, we were just coming into lockdown. Yep. So, back then it was big, and then the pandemic happened. And then, so now we started to do a lot of online events, and online conferences as well. Yep. But now that everyone's out and about, it's like, it wasn't even here, right?
Yeah.
So it's still, I think it's coming back bigger and stronger. It's because people miss that.
And what to you, when you look at going to different places in the world, what's your requirement? You have a daughter, you have your family, you're married, traveling, your time's valuable. How do you say, hey, I'm going to go this place or not go here? Because it's hard to say no, I think sometimes. How do you say no, and how do you decide where to go?
So first of all, who are the other speakers? Right? Because a lot of the deals are done in the green room. They're not done when you're on stage. Yep. Although a lot of business does come from stage. So who are the other speakers? What's the topic? Is it something that I want to go and learn about? What podcasts are happening in that area as well? Who can I have meetings with? It's funny because I had about maybe 6 or 7 meetings, like just being here, just like one-on-ones. And it's just amazing to be able to meet great people. So I don't the criteria is I can't just fly there and just do one thing. I got to fly, then there's got to be a lot of things already planned. Then it's worth the time. Otherwise, it's you flying 10 hours here, speaking, you fly 10 hours back, which is still okay. Yeah. But I mean, today I got to spend some time on the beach.
Very nice.
So I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, get a little downtime.
So the beaches are beautiful.
You beat the weather too. You saw it happens fast. It changes very quickly here. What's one of the more exciting events or locations you've been to in the last few years? What has really been give me both, just from a standpoint of the cool city, but also on an event maybe you were like, I don't know, or it could be okay, and it was like, wow, that was really a great event. So one that I thought was very interesting was Johannesburg. So I was there, I didn't know it's first time in South Africa as well. I'm like, this is interesting. Like, it's just amazing to be able to drive around. You see some areas which are just very wealthy, and then some areas which is the complete opposite. It's one of the more dangerous places in the world. I've been there as well.
Yeah, but it's this like it's just like this contrast is so black and white.
Yep.
And so when I go to somewhere like Dubai, I mean, I really like Dubai. Dubai is very chill. You know, everyone's happy. And I always think about, why is Dubai the way it is? Because you think about all the people that go there, there's a lot of expats there. They go there by choice.
Yep.
So it's a very, by nature, entrepreneurial, right? Versus if I go to someone like Singapore or Malaysia, or if I go to Australia, right? It's like all these different cultures. An interesting place was Cartagena, right? Colombia. It's like, wow, that was an interesting one.
Yeah.
Walking through the streets and like getting mobbed. I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah, I've never been there. I've heard great things about that. Your focus for this year, 2025, we're almost in 2025. You know, and right now the election is happening next week. Big lot going on in the world. Feels like it's a turning point just in general. A lot happening. What are you focused on 2025 personally for your business?
2025 is all about, so every time I fly away, I'll say to my daughter, I'm going unicorn hunting. Right? And that's double meaning. So when I go away, I always try and find these like little baby unicorns and I take it back. But actually, I'm looking for unicorns.
Yeah.
So what companies can disrupt? What companies have unicorn potential? What companies are doing things slightly different? Right? Yep. And are they using tech? Are they using AI? I mean, a lot of times right now, you take a basic business, you bolt AI onto it, you bolt social media on there. So they've got a lot of views, they've got a lot of engagement. Yep. You've got a lot of, when I say engagement, I mean, they have eyeballs. Right? And by nature of that, it will then create engagement for people to talk about it. And then they share it. So you can take a box standard business, stick tech on top, and it's worth more money.
Yep.
So that's what I'm really looking for. So when I'm doing these keynotes on stage, like I'm actually looking for business to either invest in, or I have something called FOE, F-O-E.
Okay.
It stands for fee, override, equity. So I'm doing one of these three things. Someone says, oh, John, like, no, I really want you to help me scale my business. Great. My fee is this. And how much is the company doing? Oh, it's doing $1 million. Okay. So if I get it to 2 million, I get 50% of that. Right. And also once it starts growing and scaling, then you give me some equity.
Wow.
So those are like kind of three phases. So
FOE, okay.
Yeah. Because
like
you know what I realized, Jeff, is like, you know, I built my brand, the John Lee brand. Right. But the problem is if something happens to me, then you know, that's it.
Yeah.
So then I flipped it the other way around. I'm like, okay, well, if I've got this brand and I've got this following and I've got this, you know, attention, then what I'll do is I'll leverage it into the people's companies.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
It's like, so you flip it the other way around. So instead of spending 15 years of one company, you spend 15 years with 100 companies. My actual goal is to get to 1,000 companies that each do 10 million each.
That's a
I'm
big
at 25
number.
right now.
That's a big number. I like it. That's a big goal. And tell me about where you grew up. You now live, I've been to your home. I've been in the UK over there and seen that. What was your upbringing? I believe your parents had a restaurant, Chinese restaurant.
Yeah, I worked in a Chinese takeaway as a dishwasher and my mom's Chinese takeaway.
Where was that?
And that was in a place called Burnley.
Burnley in the UK.
Yes, yeah.
But you grew up in the UK.
Yes.
Your parents came
from Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. What year was that?
Oh God, that was like 40 plus years ago.
So they moved to Burnley, grew up there, and then what sort of takeaways or learnings growing up did you to kind of go into say, hey, I want to do what I'm doing and become an entrepreneur and speaker, keynote? And
you know, I didn't really see my parents much, but one thing they really taught me was hard work.
Didn't see them because they were working so much? Or?
Yeah, because I mean, they were working Chinese takeaway. They would go, I mean, I would come on from school like 3:30, they'd make food and then they'd go to work at 5 and they wouldn't come back till like midnight.
Right.
So literally it was my aunties and uncles that brought me up actually. So, but what it taught me was...
Was it good food?
Amazing.
Great
amazing.
Food? Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure it was. Okay. That's awesome.
So now it's like, how do I preserve that as well? You know, so I'm using a lot of AI to kind of extract all the recipes from my mum's brain, right? Yep. But when I look at the upbringing, they taught me hard work. They taught me commitment. They taught me you do whatever it takes. And, you know, they only had one day off away. Every Tuesday would be the time I'd get to spend with them if they weren't going somewhere.
Tuesday? Why Tuesday?
I don't know. Asian restaurants up north, it's always Tuesday off. Is that because Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the busiest day?
Okay. Yeah. All right. Makes sense.
So Tuesday is kind of like Monday's like a little bit dead. Tuesday, people kind of getting, just choose Tuesday. Right. It's weird.
Very interesting. And how did you select where you live out of everywhere that, you know, what was the reason where anywhere in you know, London or in the UK, why specifically did you choose your base there? I've been to your office, very impressive, big office. And
I mean, that was because my ex-business partner.
Okay.
So he had, you know, he was based in that location And so he asked me to move down. I thought it made sense. Plus, location that I chose was basically 30 minutes from London. So I have a place in London now, but its problem is it's like being in the center. It's a lot of tourists. So it's a little bit stressful sometimes.
How is London now? Because I hear different things that, you know, it's like probably overblown, but is it, do you notice a difference? Does it feel different in the last year or two?
It feels more unsafe.
Okay.
Like you just see like, you just have to be more vigilant. That the amount of crime that's happening. Like, you know,
it is noticeable. You would feel like you're more on guard when you go there.
Definitely more on guard. I think that's the word. More on guard.
Okay.
Like when I go there, I've got to really watch. Okay, for example, I'm not going to wear my nice watch. I'll just wear a normal watch.
Yep.
Right. And so
that's kind of LA. That sort of feels like what's happened in LA.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. That's sort of, people have moved out even and sort of felt like it's a little more. There's some crazy law there too, where and again, I don't want to put fake news, but I believe it's like they change the amount, but it's like something under $700 or a certain amount. They don't even, it's not like it's not reported a crime or something.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of people who've like, you know, for example, Range Rovers. You can't get a Range Rover insured in central London now. Yeah. Right. It costs more to insure a Range Rover than it is Lamborghini, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. I've heard London. I've just heard mixed things. So that's, I know you know the area well, and that's but still a great city. Still, a lot going on.
It's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
You know, all the flaws of London makes it London.
Right.
You know, you walk there, it's dull, it's, you know, cloudy, it's raining.
Sunny London.
You know, but it's beautiful. I mean, if you see the city, and you know, when you're flying into London, you see the Thames, you know, London Eye, Big Ben, it's beautiful.
It is a great place. And so your vision 2025, you gave that, you're enjoying traveling, or is it hard for you to sort of find balance? One of the more fascinating things to me with successful business, women, men, is how to have a balanced family life, personal life, and also grow in your specific case, a lot of travel. So how do you find that balance, or what works for you?
Honestly, Jeff, I'm still trying to figure that out.
Right.
I'm still working on that.
Okay.
However, there's things that I'm contemplating, things like, should we do homeschooling? Should we, for example, the times, you know, a lot of people when they, you know, are starting the new year, like what you really should put in first is all the holidays and things you want to do with your family. So you bolt all these things in first, then you put the work on top. But a lot of people are doing it the other way around. They're putting all the work in, and then when there's a spare gap, they'll fit a family day in. Yeah. Right? So it should be the other way around.
Kind of work backwards.
So just be more conscious about it, be more present. Like, a lot of people are with the kids every day, but they're not present with them. Yep. And I'm guilty of this sometimes as well.
For sure, me too.
And you just gotta just put the phone down, or just have a rule. Okay, when I'm spending family time, this is nowhere near me. This is, you know,
kids are they're super observant too, because they know it, they feel it when you know what I mean, you're on there a little bit. It's just it is crazy, because when you're doing so many things, it really should be that way. It's like not even in the room, so you don't even think about it. They don't think about it. I agree. So your work in progress on it, because it does feel at your stage and just in this thing where there's so much to capitalize on. You've worked hard to build relationships, build opportunities, and then it's kind of hard to just like, oh, okay, you know, like everyone they say when you on your deathbed, right? It's like no one's like, oh, I wish I had more money, I wish I had more things, but it's also, you know, it's important to build and capitalize on the hard work you've done. Is there enough? Do you have a number? Is there something, or just is it built in you, the entrepreneurial spirit? Do you see yourself hitting some number, something happening where you're just like, all right, I'm just going to stay at home and shut it down? Or are you just always going to
Honestly, entrepreneur DNA, we will never retire.
Right.
I was just with Joe Foster. Joe Foster is the founder of Reebok. And he's like, I think he's almost 90. Yeah. Right? Or 80, 90 is like, you know, he's full of energy. He's going out. He's on the circuit now. Yeah.
Well, I think that, to be fair, part of that is, I think there's people that live for a long time. And of course, there's all kinds of luck and factors and different things. But I do think that having that spirit and kind of keeping your mind sharp and working and talking and being in the mix, I think it does kind of keep you younger. I think there's something that you said, your mind sharp as well. Yeah. Right? That just like, you know, I met some people, my grandma, 99. I have my wife's grandma just passed away at 103. But like I've seen them in their late 90s still. Like at 92, my grandma was driving and stuff. And it's like, you know what I mean? I think if you keep active, keep sort of on it, it helps, right? Versus just sort of,
you know, it's funny. I was in Dubai at a brain scan. So my brain age came back at 21.
Really?
21.
Wow. I'd be curious on mine. That's very
I'm using it every day.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm always thinking. Yeah. Always like strategizing.
I'm just worried my thumbs might fall off. Too much texting. But now there's it's getting better too, at the voice notes and the different stuff. What has been the best, most interesting investment you would say you've taken place in the last year or so? What are you most excited about?
Definitely artificial intelligence.
AI.
And specifically in the Web3 space.
Okay.
So AI, Web3, blockchain. So you've heard of Bitcoin, you've heard of Solana, Ethereum, but no one really thinks about, okay, well, if AI is going to get so big, then where's it going to sit? There has to be, like, look at what's happening right now. Everyone's going cashless.
Yep.
Right? Starbucks, no, we don't accept cash anymore. You go to China.
Starbucks doesn't accept cash?
No.
Really?
Yeah, so go cashless.
I didn't know that.
No, next time going to Starbucks and try and pay with cash.
You're sure in the world, or is that in the UK?
Well, definitely in the UK and everywhere I've been, but I'm not sure about the US.
Wow.
Right? But
they take crypto?
Here's the funny thing. So you and I talked about this yesterday. So they are accepting crypto, but people don't know they're trading in crypto because the point system is nothing more than a token, right? But it's been hidden under a different layer.
They're tokenizing Starbucks? Is that what's happening?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at Amex. Amex has been doing it for years, right? You spend some money, you get some points, and you can use the points to buy things.
How the elections right now, it's a big swing. I know, I mean, it looks, Trump's a pretty big favorite. Not a lock, but big favorite. Things can happen. What is your perception of the election in the US, and how in general, like stereotypically in your world, your friends, let's say UK, how do people think about Trump, Kamala Harris, the US?
You know, it's interesting because over in the UK, we have our own problems as well with our own stuff that's happening.
Yeah.
And, he's trying to get for power and, all this. A lot of people are actually leaving the UK now.
Right.
Because of all the stuff that's happening. But when we look at what's happening over here, like when I come over here, I was just in Arizona. Everywhere I'm flying around, see, pictures, vote for Trump. I see all these advertising everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane.
Yeah.
So when you look at and I'm even getting messages from the oppositions of those parties texting me. I'm like, I'm not even in the US.
Yeah.
It's like, why? I literally got an email.
Right. It is. Right? It's nuts how they do this with the information and what's going on. So but are people, like, how would you say Trump is perceived by in the UK to stereotypically?
It's like chalk and cheese.
Okay.
Chalk and cheese, it's like this big divide. A lot of people love him.
Yeah. Polarizing.
It's very polarizing. Very polarizing.
Okay.
Very, very.
Interesting. But you think the betting lines, the odds, the stats are suggesting Trump's going to win. Do you think that's going to?
So I'll tell you a funny story. So the first time when he was running for office, I was just kind of observing, just watching. And then him and Hillary went live on Facebook at the same time. And they each had around 50,000 people watching them live on Facebook. Donald Trump had a link inside his post in order to vote and go and get more information, and Hillary Clinton didn't.
Right.
And at that point, I knew that Trump was going to win.
Wow.
Why? Better marketer. Understands marketing, understands eyeballs, understands attention.
Yeah.
Right? It's basic, fundamental business skills. So, and again, being in Arizona last week, well, like a couple of weeks ago, same thing. I saw like stickers on cars, driving around, flags, like it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So he really is like, it's almost like lead generation, right? When you do lead gen for your business, he's treating that, but for his position.
Yeah.
So if you ask me who do I think is going to win, it's the better marketer.
For sure, makes sense. If you could live, where you've been in the world, what you've seen, your understanding of different places, what would be, if you weren't living where you were now, take away maybe offices or ties, where would you like to live with nothing else in consideration?
Singapore and Bali.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Bali. Bali's a very spiritual place. Very spiritual.
Nice.
But I'm kind of like,
there.
Yeah, you've never been.
Never
You
been
got
to
to come.
Yeah.
December, you got to come.
All right.
You got to come.
I've heard nothing but great things.
Yeah, have you been to Sedona?
Yes.
So when you go there, you feel this vortex energy. This really.
It really is that place. Yeah, it's like an hour and a half from Phoenix, or maybe 2 hours. Yeah, drive. Yeah.
Yeah, you drive there, and it's like this really. It's like if you feel fresh, you feel recharged.
Yeah.
Same thing with Bali. Bali has the same energy.
Yeah.
So I'd love to. So that's why actually Southeast Asia is actually a place I'm contemplating going as well, because you've got I love Japan, I love Korea, you've got Thailand, you've got Bali, all the beautiful places over there.
Yeah,
and it's relatively cheap.
Yeah, safe
compared to the pound.
Safe as well.
Safe. I mean, Singapore's super safe.
Yep.
I mean, there's some areas you got to look out for, like all places.
Anywhere, yeah.
But it's like Hong Kong. So my parents are from Hong Kong, so it's kind of like in that area. And plus, Dubai is a 6 hour flight.
What about Dubai? Would you consider living there, or just more to go?
I would love to move. I would love to move there, but my wife is like unsure, because my wife is like, if we're gonna move anyway, we're gonna move back to Malaysia.
Right. Yeah. I think I went to Dubai for the first time this last year. It was pretty shocking to see like the before 20, 30 years ago pictures and now how fast they're building. It's very interesting. Very, very interesting. It feels a little bit like Vegas to me, except much bigger. But I really did like it. I thought
they're building a casino there now.
Yeah, it's coming. I think a year.
It will be the
next
Win,
Vegas, right? The Win. It's like an hour and a half outside. I heard that as well. Yeah, a lot going on in that part of the world. And your main business, if someone's gonna ask you, what is so you do the speaking, you go on 200 days of the year. What would you say is your core business, though?
Investing.
Investing.
So I find companies that have potential for growth.
Okay.
And then I consult and I get either a fee, I get override, or equity.
Explain the override.
So let's say your company makes $1 million.
Okay.
And I tell you to do these 4 things, and now it makes $2 million.
Yep.
So that's $1 million above what you would normally make.
Do you have? Can you get shorted? Can it go the other way? Or are you only upside only?
No, it's just the upside, because that's what we call the override.
I love it. Okay.
Right. So then then it's a negotiation. So it's a very simple business model, and then the idea is then you can do roll-ups. So let's say you've got 5 companies that are in the poker space, and they're online. You can roll them into one, because companies that's rolled into one has a higher valuation.
Was there one that started that gave you this? Because I mean, obviously that's a great business model and it sounds great, but it takes time to get to that space.
I'll tell you who told me that. I just had dinner with a guy who taught me this.
Okay.
He's a billionaire.
All right.
So
sounds like it's a good business.
Yeah. That's because I said to him, I said, Glenn, if you were me, what would you do? And he's like, well, John, you travel around the world, and you get paid a speaker fee, and it's great, and it's nice, but you're only getting paid, like you're only getting rich. You're not getting wealthy. Well, that's interesting. What's the difference between rich and wealthy? He said, well, rich is you got all this money, right? But you got to keep working for it.
Right.
Right. Whereas wealthy, it's assets, it's residual, it pays you the money, and you're in things that grow. And he said, if I was in your position in front of thousands of people every time you speak, I would be looking for unicorns. I would be saying, okay, how many of you in this room have a business over 5 years? It's doing this amount of revenue. If you are, here's my email, here's my message, go and speak to here's my team. So then we have them fill an application out, we look at their business, and then we sit down like this. And then if I think it's good, then I go, okay, let's try it for a year. Let me, so think of it, I come on as an advisor.
Yeah.
Right? As almost like a chief strategy officer, right? Think of me as your chief strategy officer / chief marketing officer / chief revenue officer stuck into one.
Okay. And how many companies at once how many have you done, or how many would you work at one time for that? Because it could take up a lot of time too. No, for do you have a limit? Do you have an agreement usually for time with that? How does that work on something?
I mean, right now I've got a good team that help me support that.
Yep.
So normally I'm going in for the strategic stuff. So okay, well, John, I want to go from here to here. Okay, strategically, here's what you need to do.
Yep.
Right. Then the execution part is, I'll speak to, a lot of my teams, and they can do also help them with the execution as well. So for my time, it's kind of like, how many people do you speak to on WhatsApp?
A lot.
More than 10?
A lot.
More than 50?
Too many.
Right. It's the same thing. I'm like, I'm speaking to people on WhatsApp anyway.
Yeah.
Just give them my number. If you need any help, just let me know.
Right.
Oh, John, I'm struggling with this. I'm going to negotiation. How do you negotiate it? Here's how I'd negotiate it. Oh, but John, I put this video up and it's not going viral. Okay, do this. Or, John, I just had one of my staff members steal. Okay, do this.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I've got this contract. Do you think this contract is fair? Do this.
And so but in your experience, how valuable is it to be on the road or live with someone versus like consulting or from afar? Because
this only works if you do it in person.
Yep.
Right. And by the way, I've been doing this for 20 years. So I've tested everything.
How old are you? No?
Right. I'm 43.
43.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 20 years in this space. And what I realize is, for example, when you and I talked on Instagram and we were chatting, you were like, we didn't really have a relationship.
Right.
Then when we met in person, and you came to my house and I saw how incredible you are at doing all this focus. I'm like, wow, this guy's a genius. And so I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And then from there, and then we didn't connect for a little while for what 2 or 3 years because of the pandemic. Then I fly back and it's like I just saw you yesterday.
Yeah, no,
right?
it is
feels
interesting.
like that.
Yeah, no, it is.
It
is funny how that works. Yeah. I think one of the tricky things to break down is like the the quality versus quantity, because I think that in someone, I think we're similar in some ways where we talk and get a hold of a lot of different people and have a wide range. You know, it's not just one set demographic, and you're talking with different types of people, different businesses. It's kind of hard, I think, to keep the quality up, right? Because at some point you said you can't hold 100 relationships like and keep in touch. We have a family, try to do all this and keep. So how do you maintain relationships and keep up with people?
So people have a CRM for their life.
Okay.
Sorry, for the business.
Yeah.
You need to have a CRM for your life. For example, there are softwares and AIs that can say, okay, Jeff's birthday is coming up.
Yeah.
Right? Automatically send him a message to re-engage.
Yeah.
Right? It's no different than doing a follow-up for your prospects,
right,
but you do it for your relationships. Because there's relationship capital. Right? You and I have been talking about some things that are pretty exciting. We're going to have a meeting about this a little bit later.
Yeah.
But I mean, that could potentially be a unicorn.
For sure.
Right? So unfortunately, the good thing is that the barrier to entry is high because you got to make the time for it.
Yeah.
Like someone says to me, why would you fly 5,000 miles? And I have done this before, which is not the best use of time, right? But occasionally I'll say, you know what, I'll fly to Singapore to have a meeting and I'll fly back. And I have done that before, actually quite a few times.
Yeah.
Right? But that's why I try and pad things around it as and when they are. But like you got to make the effort. Like it tells that person that, wow, they're willing to do that. Wow, they're willing to spend time. Wow, like this person's so busy, but they'll spend time with you.
For sure.
And so to manage the relationships is always, a phrase I always use is, what are you currently working on that can help you with? I might not be able to help you, but I guarantee I want to know someone that does.
Yep.
So it's kind of this thing of, have you heard of this phrase that the Gen Zs use called plug, P-L-U, plug? I'll plug you. So,
I mean, plug is in like endorse you?
No, plug is in like I'll take care of you.
Okay.
Right? You say
I haven't heard that exactly.
Yeah. It's almost like pulling strings. Or I'll hook you up.
Okay. Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
So you build a network in such a way, it's not for you, it's also for other people.
Right. That makes sense. And if you're watching, someone's at home and they're seeing, they're not really sure what to do. There's so many options nowadays with technology and, being able to work remote, but someone's wanting to go sort of on a similar path that you've been on. And what would be your advice to someone that wants to sort of get in this rhythm, this sort of, because it doesn't just happen. It takes a lot of time to sort of get a foundation and then go. So what would be your advice to someone who wants to do what you've kind of your path now, because it's changed 20 years ago, just like poker. 20 years ago, someone asked me, I want to be a professional poker player. I want to do this. Like, well, it's completely different than when I started. There's the barrier to entry is different. The solvers are different. The landscape's changed. There's a lot that's happened. So today versus when you started, how would someone start today if they were you?
So honestly, the easiest thing to do, and I'm not trivializing this at all, like, is to find somebody who really actually needs help. It doesn't matter how rich somebody is. Like billionaires ask for my help.
Yeah.
Right? So why? Like they're billionaires. Because new level, new devil. And there's always a next level.
Never heard that.
New level, new devil, and there's always a next level. So what's your next level? We always ask the question. If you're making $1 billion, what's your next level? Right? So my level, when I take one company public, okay, that's only one, but now my next level is 1,000 companies. Wow. Right? So because now I can scale it. I've done it once, I can do it again. So
I like that. I've never heard that. I don't know how it seems like that. I'm surprised I haven't heard that, but it makes sense. It's sort of just another way of saying it. There's always, new challenges, new obstacles. There's new, to get up. It's also, I think I look at poker and golf very similar, and sort of in this way I see what you say. That is in poker, the greats to like the top 0.01. And again, I'm not a top 0.01 player. I'm a very good poker player, but like guys that are running solvers and playing the highest, tournament buy-ins, and they're working really hard, right? And in golf, you might be a scratch golfer, right? 72, shoot 72. That's insane. That's like world class. But like the professionals on the tour, they're shooting 3 under, 5 under, or 6 under. You know what I mean? So like to go from scratch to a little better, it's very difficult. Someone at home who's 20 years old or 18 and not sure what to do, like to get from starting to go to make something of themselves or to find their passion, that's not that hard, right? You can lock and do some work, but really to kind of get to the next levels, I think it's really hard.
Okay, so it's a formula I've kind of figured out, right?
Yeah.
Because I train millions of people.
Yeah.
Right? Online, offline, in physical, online, like if one video can get 10 million views, and I teach that one strategy and they get it, it works. But when I look at all the people who, because you can teach someone the same thing, right? And half these people will go and do it, and the other half will not. So then what's the difference? The difference between knowledge and implementation, or the action, should be pretty simple, right? Oh, I want to lift a weight, I want to get in shape. Okay, go and lift some weights. Should be pretty simple. But if I wake up in the morning, I'm like, okay, today I'm going to do a leg day. I go into the gym, I'll do a leg day. But if I wake up and I go, I don't know what I want to do today. Like, do I do a chest day? Do I do an arm day? I have no idea.
Yeah.
So what is the thing that is sandwiched in between? It's clarity. So you have to wake up every single day with clarity. I'm very clear. Every time I speak to people, do they have unicorn status? Right? Potential. Right? Do they have problems with, can the business scale? Can we disrupt it? Can we insert tech? Can we insert AI? Do they need funding? How much funding do they need? I was sat down with a guy yesterday. Incredible idea. Incredible. They just effed it up because of a few simple things that they could have put into place.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's amazing how that works. So there's so many great ideas, and nowadays it's just, there's a lot that goes into it to be successful, to build a business. I'm always impressed by people that actually build businesses, because to start, with the right employees, there's luck, but it's also, there's so much that goes into building a successful business or a successful idea, and a lot, it's just like in sports, some of the best athletes are the best people you'll never know about, right? There's a lot of intangibles, and it's very interesting how that works. What is your superpower, you would say? What in your world, what makes you able to do what you do? What would you say that is some of your best strengths? I
can look at any business model and make it more money. It's a gift and a curse at the same time.
Right.
Because like I get frustrated.
Yeah.
I'm like, this could be done so much. Like yesterday, the cart thing that happened yesterday, I'm like, this is so inefficient.
Oh, right.
It's like, I've never paid for like if they just had a QR code there or something like that, they can just scan and just pay straight away.
Yeah.
Knowing that people are going to get into that position. Like I was actually I was like, God, this is so frustrating. You have to go into the desk, register for this. Like it's too many steps.
Is the UK, is London, is it more advanced than sort of like what you're seeing in the US?
UK is even worse.
Oh, it's more behind.
Yeah. I'll tell you the best place, Singapore, Hong Kong, faster.
Isn't it interesting that you would think US is like, in my mind, and again, I'm biased and probably same with you, like you would just think that it's got the best technology, the best stuff, but really there's so many places that are so far advanced, right? I mean, that's just,
I just get frustrated. Like things could be done so much more efficient. All the friction points can be removed.
Yeah.
Right. And if you look at how things are happening now, it's like, why has this been done this way for so long? All because it's been done that way for so long doesn't mean it's the right way.
Yeah. Things are changing so fast. It's really is a different time. What goes into your team? You're, like not talking about employees but like in your core, like when you're doing travel event, do you have a manager, travel agent, assistant? Like, give me sort of your standard, like who do you meet with and talk with, and who's part of your system?
So 2 things. One is I build teams all around the world. So like, because the economies of scale is much better. I don't have to fly an entourage from one place to another. You want to build it in that country. So when you go there, you can execute. For example, I have a videographer in every country that I fly to.
Wow.
Right. So when I go there, okay, we're doing a shoot. I literally was a guy, I'm going to Dubai next week. And just messaged him, hey, we got a shoot, come. So a lot of these people are all there to be able to come and support as and when. And it's basic, everything's templated.
How long did that take to, because I mean, so
it's still being iterated because we always improve it every single time, right? That didn't work because of this, right? But this venue, not this venue, right? Make sure it doesn't have columns, in the middle,
right?
Or make sure the layout is done this way.
Would you say you're a perfectionist or OCD at all, or how do you deal with giving up control?
That's duality. I am, but I'm not.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it.
I am, but I'm not.
Right.
So
you understand, you want to be, and you are at heart, probably you just understand that you can't, you need to let go of some control.
There's some things that are absolutely has to be that way.
Yeah.
Otherwise it won't work. And this, like there's things that you do, if it's not done that way, it will not produce the result.
I think that's one of the most difficult things, because of course you want it your way. It's even like a post, or you have a team. It's like you see it, how you want to do it, how it would be done by you, but you realize it's not the most efficient way if you're going to do every post, every word, every this. I think that's one of the biggest lessons is that first step, and just like not, if you wait till things are perfect, it won't be, and just dive in. Because I think that's something that's a bit hard for some people. I've had some friends that like, oh, I want to start a podcast, or I want to do this. And it's like, they like, oh, I want to save up and get this mic, or, I don't have the right team. Like, you know what I mean? Like I just remember starting back with like Twitch and stuff, just like literally with no like, just no idea what I'm doing, or vlog, do a YouTube vlog. And it's like, all right, it's terrible and it's whatever. And it's just long and it's not cut. And but like, I think that's important to be able to just start, and things are always getting better.
I mean, I would add something like, it's not timing the business.
Yeah.
Right. It's time in the business.
Yep. Yeah.
It's very different.
It is. It's hard to. It's hard.
Like if someone says to you, "Oh, I play the guitar. How long have you been playing? 20 years." And you play like once a month, versus somebody who plays for a year every single day for 20 hours. It's very different, isn't it?
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because like Duolingo, my wife's Brazilian, Portuguese speaking, and we've been together 10 years, and just now in the last few months I've started to like where I really follow it. I can speak some. I mean, I can speak some, but I can understand it really. But like I was doing, 5 minutes a day for 10 years. And in retrospect, I wish I had done like an hour a day or something. Like I could have done more, but again, like same thing, balance. Like I got doing a lot of different things, but it's true, right? Yeah, you could be, someone could do in 6 months or 3 months, they can do what you do in so long. So there is some of that same principle. Yeah.
Yeah. So you asked me the question, what should someone do, right? If they're just starting off. 3 things. Number 1 is everything you do has to bring you joy. If it doesn't bring you joy, business is hard enough as it is. There's a lot of failures. It's not a get rich quick, and there's going to be things that happen. So it has to bring you joy, which means you need to enjoy the process. Number 2 is you have to already kind of be good at it, right? Like you don't have to be the best, but you got to be kind of good at it, right? You got to have some either natural ability or some kind of upskill. Why is that important? Because it will eliminate the friction straight away. Right? For example, someone says, I want to start a podcast. Okay, are they even good at interviewing? Yeah, they're pretty good at it. Then they can start instead of figuring out the equipment, then figuring out how to do an interview, right? And the third thing is, and this is the most important one, this is how they make money from it. What is it that they know to be true that other people do not yet?
Yep.
So if you can answer those 3 questions and you implement it, that's how people start off. And coming back to it as well, I would not go 0 to 1. I would go from 1 to 2. So find somebody who's already at the 1 and get them to 2. That's why I do the business model. I don't want to get them from 0 to 1. It's too much work.
Right.
1 to 2 is easy.
Right.
I can literally sit down with any company, right? If they've got businesses, they're spending money on marketing, if they have sales processes, I'll 10x that just by looking at the process.
Very, very, very interesting. And give me your gaming, let's say poker. Have you played at all? Have you played tournaments, cash games? What's your pokers? Didn't your brother, he plays?
Yeah. I'm not that great at poker.
But you've played. You've played with friends.
Yeah. But I'm too impatient.
Yeah. Well, especially for a tournament. Tournaments are tough. They take, that's a long time.
It's like, oh, everyone's folding all the time. It's so boring.
Yeah.
Why does everyone keep folding
You're
all the time?
You're in the wrong game, man.
Yeah.
We'll get right over there.
Yeah.
And what is one place that you're excited about coming up? What's a trip or a speaking engagement or something that you have that you're looking forward to in the near future?
I'm looking forward to, so we run a retreat in Bali. And selfishly, I'll tell you the reason why I do it. If I say to you now, hey Jeff, let's go Bali, you're too busy, right? It's like, we're in this, but you're too busy. But in December, you're going to be less busy. You're going to be like, winding down a little bit. And I say to you, let's go Bali. And you're like, actually, I'd quite like to go there. Cool, come.
Right. So yeah, when is it? What dates is that?
So actually, so we always have it at the beginning of December. So we do it every single year. But the reason why I do it is this concept called the Mastermind, right? And I think I mentioned this before. Have you heard of sympathetic resonance before? The concept?
No.
Okay, so Paul McKenna, my good friend, taught me this, and he said if you put 2 pianos next to each other, 2 pianos next to each other, and you play the C chord on one piano, it will cause the other piano's C chord to vibrate. It's amazing. So what does that mean? That means sympathetic resonance creates frequency. And so frequency, when you put incredible people together with no agenda, the frequency will align and you'll come up with unicorns. So that's why I do Bali every year. I bring some of the best people. Some of these are, like some of the most famous people on the planet in the space. Some of these people are billionaires. Some of these people are.
How many years have you done that?
About 5 years.
Nice.
Yeah. That's where I got all my ideas from. That's how I got my book deal. Right. That's how I'm going to get my Netflix deal.
Wow.
Right. So all these things, like
you can't tell me how busy I am. I might be able to go. You can let me know when it is, man.
Yeah. You got to come. I'll introduce you to some people.
That'd be fun.
Right. And you'd add so much value to everybody. Maybe we can, I don't know, set up a poker table there as well. Teach us all how to play poker.
That sounds good. Is it invite only, or is it a course,
invite
or is
only.
It's
invite only.
It's
invite only, or it's a very high ticket price.
Very cool.
Yeah. So normally you can only get in if you're making, a certain amount of net worth, contacts, things like that as well. So, because selfishly, I want to go there to learn from everybody.
Right.
It's my event, but I'm actually a student at my own event.
That's awesome.
Because I get them to come do a talk. There was a guy who was there. His name's Ken. And this guy interviewed Elon Musk 3 times. Ran one of the top radio shows in US. And he's telling me all these like loopholes you can do, and you can do this, you can do that. And it's like, wow, I didn't know you could do that.
Very, very cool. That's interesting. So, and why Bali? Just be more for like a vacation vibe?
Because if I say do it in your own town or in central London, people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to come and go. Right. But to fly to Bali, it is a flight. It's from here, it's going to take you about 23 hours. Well, maybe 20 hours to get there.
So it's a commitment.
Depending on which airline you take.
What would be you fly? What's like direct from where?
Best one is probably go Qantas from here, all the way to Australia, or you can Emirates is good as well. So you go to Dubai, and Dubai to Bali. So it's just one stop, but you have to stop somewhere.
Okay, so right? Dubai to Bali is direct.
Yeah. So what I'm going to go Bali. I'm going to do a big keynote there, and then from there. Fly over to Australia, and then Australia back to Bali.
That's sort of that's your end of your year sort of crap.
Yes.
You shut it down after that, take a little time at home.
Yeah, and that's what I do. So I bring my team as well. So it's also my team to strategize for the next year.
Nice.
Right? So we're all trying to get aligned, because a lot of people, they set the goals at the beginning of the year. It's too late. You want to do it a month or 2 months back, really.
Yep.
Right? And then you execute. So you got to, basically it's like, you get a little elastic band, you pull it back. Right? So this is January, you pull it back to like November, October, and then you let go. It goes.
Very, very cool. And how has your team grown over the years? Have you gone scaled up and down? Have you found, you speak about AI and efficiencies. How has that last, let's give 5 years. Have you just gone hires? Have you scaled down? How have you done
So in the earlier days, it was always like hire at no cost, at all costs. Right. But the problem with that is, yes, your revenue is going up. Yes, people are bringing more sales in, everything's growing. But the problem is when it stops,
right,
your revenue is not there, but your costs are still there.
Yep.
Right. So it's a dangerous model. So I learned this from Steve Jobs. He says, basically, if you look at how Apple's created, or how he created Apple, each department is like a startup.
Wow.
Right. So you have to treat each organization. Think of all your departments within your office right now. Each one should be its own organization.
Makes sense.
Right? Because when you do it that way, you stay lean. And then the people running it have more ownership. And then people have more ownership, they are more effective.
Right. Yeah,
because they own it.
Makes right.
So for example, the iPod team versus the iPhone team, right? Versus the MacBook Pro team. Like they basically create all these little different departments, and they're basically like a big startup. It's like one big startup is how they do it.
Is the iPod still going around, or that ended a few years ago? I remember that because
iPod is not here anymore.
There was for a while, even like a few years ago. I remember seeing. I think they did have it, but now that's interesting though how they break. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense too. How it's like its own.
Because then you can scale that way. Because let's say a project doesn't work, then of course you can't be there. But that's why I think I used to work a lot in the film industry, and the way the film industry worked, it was never like a set concrete team. It would be a team of people that all work together, but they'll work on different projects.
Yep.
And then when you need them, they come together. That's kind of like how I built the company, right? Because now it's all about creating smaller teams, more effective. Because I'll give an example. One really good salesperson is equivalent to 10 really bad salespeople. Mm-hmm. Right. So then before it's like, oh, you need to be I'm the jack of all trades and master of none. It's the opposite now. You need to be a master of all trades and a jack of none.
Yeah.
Right. Because now people don't want a job. They don't want a business. They want something in between. So we've now become solopreneurs. And solopreneurs need to be able to do a number of things. So you got to do, and I always talk about the strategy I talk about is called the double Pareto. right? So what is the double Pareto? Double Pareto, have you heard of the Pareto rule?
No.
Okay, it's the 80-20.
I've heard, I know the 80-20.
Yeah, 20% of the world own 8% of the wealth. Right? Out of all the rooms in your house, you use 80% of them, 20% you don't. Your paycheck that you get, 80% goes to bills, 20% you save. Right? So that's called the Pareto rule, 80-20. What a lot of people don't talk about is the double Pareto rule.
So 10?
20% of the 20%.
Right, yes, okay. So
which is the top 4%. So then the question you have to ask is, and for all your team members, what are the top 4 things that you do every single day that becomes effective? So for me, I call it the SPEC formula, SPEC. Stages, podcasts, that's why I'm doing this, events, and collaborations, and content creation.
So back with
that's it.
Yeah,
those 4. Every time I do these 4 things, I make more money.
Yeah, it's interesting. You got a lot. I like that. Was it the devil one? What's it? The devil.
New level, new devil.
New devil. I like that. That's good. We're gonna use that. And if you had to just focus on one thing specifically, what would be? What do you think if you just couldn't do everything, and what would be
if I could just choose one thing, it'd be networking.
Networking.
Right. And when I say networking, it's so trivialized, isn't it? When I say networking, it's like making meaningful and authentic connections. Not just seeing someone because you want something.
Yep.
Right? How many times do you have people call you never heard them for a while, and they want something from you? Like, how are you, bud?
Yeah.
How's it going?
Yeah, that is one
how
of the
can I help you?
That is one of the more, that's something that, and also being around I've been, fortunate, like you see that and you feel it, because it sucks when that's the people, exactly, they're asking you make reservations, ask you to do this. When you're always being asked to do things, it's tough, right? And it's like, and you feel that too when someone you haven't heard from for a long time, they just ask for something. It really is.
Hey, bro, I got a new book. Help me promote it. I'm like, what about the 10 years? Like, you didn't check in.
I did this. I had a huge thing and you didn't check in.
So the key is to build the relationship, a meaningful relationship.
Right.
Right. And so that's why I always go with, what are you working on that can help you with? Right. I might not be able to help you, but I definitely know someone that can, or I definitely have a contact that can make that work.
I agree completely. The only thing I will say is what I've noticed too, where the having a marriage, kids, doing a lot on your own, I do feel, maybe AI, maybe it's these things to make it more. It is. I found it difficult. Like, even you are actually a perfect example, because you're someone that I know is, operating at a high level. There's a lot of value. You have, obviously, we get along well and have fun, and just it's almost like when we're talking, like, what do we folks to talk about? Because there's a lot of stuff happening. But with that being said, it's like it's a few years where we don't really connect, right? So it's like it's not because it's more just like, all right, again, I'm gonna go, you're gonna go back, you'll fly home. We have even yesterday, there's a couple things you mentioned me, you wanted to connect me with. There's a couple things I wanted to send and do and help to tie you into. But it's like, it's just kind of one of those things where it can be hard to, if you start having great people and great relationships, it is hard still to like, and my nickname's PBF. Like, that's literally, my friends call me professional best friend. Like, that's actually my real nickname. PBF. And it's like, because they just like, he's always there, he always shows up, he's always around. But with that being said, there is a cost to that, to be, like I said, I'm always on my phone, I'm always around. It's like, at some point too, it's hard to be you can't be everyone's best friend. Like, that's like the kind of the joke of the nickname, but it's like, it's like at some point it is, there's a limitation to amount of time you can't check with everyone every day or every so often. So I don't know. I think that's interesting. And I just think it's like, it is also, I do find that it's a good problem to have, but there's a lot of people I really care about or respect or think are very interesting that I do feel it's difficult to keep up with.
But then you gotta have a system for it.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have a system. For example, WhatsApp on your, have you heard of something called Airtable?
No.
So Airtable, you put everyone's information in there. For example, I have a friend that every time he goes to Dubai, this system will send a notification to all his Dubai contacts. Let's go for dinner. Let's do this. Let's do it. And they just bring a group of people together. So you have a system for it.
That's interesting. I have two of my best friends. They have a system where anytime they ever leave a city, they have to text each other. I'll say they have a $5,000 bet. So if like, for example, if you leave Miami, you have to text your friend, hey, I'm going to Dubai, I'm going to London. Like, so they, not just in their own city, anywhere they're ever traveling. Because at one point there was this time where they were both in the same city and they didn't realize till after, and they were like, oh, we can't let that happen again. But I think that's a good system too.
But you have got a protocol. So for example, what I used to do is, on WhatsApp Business, you can have the professional one, you can put tags. So for example, I have location tags. So for example, let's say I go to Miami, right? I'll type in Miami and then I'll get all the people listed in Miami. Then I can add all of them to a broadcast list. The broadcast list will say something like, hey bro, I'm in town. Let me know if you're about, right? So you send that out and then the people that are your friends will reply back. Those are the people you want to spend time with.
Right.
Why would you give your time to somebody else if they're not willing to give time to you?
Yeah. That's
right?
No, for sure. I think
that's one system.
Yep.
Better way I found is if you look at my Instagram, I got one post of me sat on the plane and I'm like, hey, I'm going to Miami. So I just let everybody know I'm in Miami.
Yeah. And then
everyone reaches out. Oh, John, that's how I got all the meetings lined up since being here.
Right. No, that's smart. You may have to do it a little bit in advance too, just to but on the way. I like that. That's all very effective. So what about goals for, let's say, I mean, you mentioned a few. You talked about goals for sort of this, but what? Give me some personal goals and maybe your life coming up. Like, what are some things that you're really focused on? Not business wise, personally. You mentioned you might go homeschooling, just kind of goals,
bucket list stuff.
Yeah, like what stuff that because one of my best friends too. I mentioned this book to you. I think Die with Zero. Bill Perkins, he wrote this, and that sort of bucket list and memory dividends about important to do stuff. Yeah, give me some of that stuff where you're kind of like, all right, I'm 43, I'm working hard, but like I want to slow down, I want to enjoy some. What are some things that you're looking at that you want to make sure you do, and maybe a closer amount of time now? Don't let it get away from time.
A big part of it is revolution. I know it's a big one. Revolutionizing the education system, right? I really think that education is a little bit outdated. Like they're not really like. Well, why do you go to school? Get a job. When you go to school, you get a job, you work, you want to buy houses, you want to buy things. But why don't they teach our kids the fundamentals of school, right? In terms of finances, in terms of, because the fundamental of school really should be about your finances because you have finances in the world, and also managing your emotional intelligence. You're going to go through a lot of stress and ups and downs. So then really they need to create something like that. And I remember that when you went to school, it was always like to get a job, right? You get educated, go to school, get a job. It was never, oh, you want to start your own business, right? So actually, my prediction is in the future, people won't have jobs. The only job they'll have is to train the AI to work for them. That's the only thing they're going to do.
It is crazy to think like that in 20 years, 10 years, even
10 years. It's already happening. People won't have jobs. It'll be the AI agents that chain together, that create an organization, that execute on their behalf. So now you got to get really good at programming it. You got to get really good at prompting it. You got to get specific on what you want it to do. So, because we went to our, parents meeting and teachers like, any questions? And I said, what plans do you have to teach our kids about AI? Well, we don't really.
Yeah.
You don't plan to teach our kids about AI,
right? Which
is the most powerful thing that's going to take over probably everyone's jobs.
Right.
Myself included. Right. It's insane. They need to just start learning relevant things that we use in every single day. We use this every single day.
Yeah. That's going to be built into our arm pretty soon. It's moving that way. Think about like iPod and stuff, like all that. Basically everything's just kind of consolidating, right? From like this device to do that. Now everything's doing what? Let me ask you about AI, since you seem to be super passionate about it and also very alert and aware of what's going on. Cause I have ChatGPT and I'm familiar with some of the stuff, and I hear stuff, and it does seem like that would be smart to just be super informed and be ahead of the curve. When you mention that we won't have jobs in the future, and things are gonna get replaced, and you see these robots now that are rolling out in people's homes, and I saw guy who started a big poker site, one of the original ones, and I've known for a while. Yesterday, I just saw a post on his Instagram. He was like mind blown yesterday. He was in a car. He ordered a Uber or something, and he literally got in the car, and there was no driver. So, and I don't know if he didn't know or he knew he signed up for the app and it was like the first time, this was the program of the app. He didn't say what it was, but literally showed us me the Uber, he's in there, he's put the post out and there it is. He's riding in a pickup and there's no driver, which is crazy. Cause I know they're testing this and it's kind of around, but like, so that stuff's happening. Do you think, give me your prediction for AI sort of like 10, 20 year vision, because is that if we all are being replaced or we all don't have jobs or we're having AI work for us, how does that look? Is everyone just going to be doing charity and we're all happy, or is it going to be like chaos because people won't have jobs and it's going to be bad? Is it good or bad?
Well, we're going to evolve to a world where money doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Right? So you heard of universal credit. So everyone's going to get, this is what they talk about.
Yeah.
If no one's doing jobs, no one's working, then what are people doing?
Right.
Right? Our job is to innovate. Our job is to come up with things that can impact, that can make things different.
Right.
Right? So instead of spending our hand doing things and like our mind really is for our imagination.
Right.
Because now our imagination can be brought to life. There's people now who are making full-on feature film, Pixar style quality with just prompts.
Right. Well, now they're saying, I know there's commercials now, like they're not needing commercials. They do it AI. So like all these, these budgets and these things are being done this way. There's all kinds of stuff that's happening. So I don't know. It's a little overwhelming. It's kind of scary. You like quality of life in 20 years. Let's just say, okay, how about let's keep it simple. We both have children. Yeah. Let's say our children's children, when we're grandparents, do you believe that the quality of life for our children to be parents, let's say let's say exactly now, our kids have kids that are 5 years old, 7 years old. Is the quality of life going to be better in your opinion for them? Are they going to have more time to be a parent and be present and, to give their time to better the world? Or is it going to be like Terminator crazy shit?
Well, there's always a chance of that. Yeah, right.
Of course.
My prediction is our kids and our kids' kids, and when we're grandparents, they will really understand what life is. We're not really living, actually, you and I. We're just existing. There's a difference.
I just went to a oneness course in LA, this FOA course. It was very interesting, and I took stuff away, and it was sort of a refresher about being present and what's really important and what's happening. And it's good. I think awareness is huge in general, just to be aware, because I know I'm too much on my phone. I know that I'm not perfect around my kids. I know that I could be more self, but it's like the awareness of being I know I'm supposed to do this, but I'm actually choosing to not or to do it. But I think that is very interesting. And I do think that I agree with that.
You see, in the future, the word I'm going to give you is possibility. Everything will be possible because technology will allow it so. So then the world's your oyster, right? You want to create a brand new world? You can, right? Yeah. Now you've got the metaverse, then you've got virtual reality, then you have augmented reality. Literally become like the Matrix.
Right.
In fact, how do you know we're not living in a simulation right now?
Well, I had a pastor on earlier who's at a church I go to. His name's Pastor Philippe. Very great guy, very interesting. I asked him specifically what he thinks about the simulation, that thing. Musk saying that $1 billion to 1 that we're not in a simulation, right? Which is pretty smart guy. So for him to think that we're guaranteed.
I'm gonna say something that's going to.
Have you met Elon Musk?
No.
I had one crazy night where I got to spend like 7 hours with him in a small room. And that was like a year and a half ago. And there were some talks and just getting a little bit to understand how his mind worked and be there. He's one of the greatest of our time, innovators, thinkers, and super smart guys. So I'm curious to hear what you have to say about simulation.
So when a baby is born, right? When a baby is born, so baby's there, can the baby survive by itself?
No.
Right.
No.
So then how did it survive?
In
the first baby that was ever born in the world,
right?
It was just born there and it's like crying. It can't feed itself. It can't walk. How did that baby live?
The chicken or the egg conversation?
It's not even that. It can't.
Right.
So something has to intervene. So the thing the something that has to intervene is what?
An artificial intelligence?
Could be. So Bitcoin, who created Bitcoin?
That documentary just came out was pretty.
It's supposed to be Satoshi, right?
Yeah.
Like no, like there's now people saying that AI created Bitcoin, and you think about it, it makes sense because it needs to be decentralized. It needs a way to be able to go out there that no one can control it, right? And it sets their own rules, right? They're laying the foundation for it.
Yeah. That's a lot. Yeah, Bitcoin at all-time high basically today, right now. Pretty crazy. I mean, there's a lot going on. I mean, that's actually interesting. I'm sure money, obviously, in the next some point of time. We just, like you said, Starbucks is doing that, whether it's in the world or UK, but it will be, save the trees, paperless, control. Is it too much control, or do you think that's going to be like cameras at every corner? Like, is it going to go into that mode where like everything, you're going to know every penny that ever is spent, cash is gone? Like, do you think that's going to...
Once it goes digital, then it's, blockchain technologies, everything's on a ledger, everything's fully transparent. So when I went to China, Asia, like 20 years ago, there was no cameras anywhere. You go there now, face recognition. You walk through, bang, lets you through. Your ID comes up, everything. Camera and every single... It's the safest place in the world. So when you look at what's evolving, what's happening, and people are going to struggle with this, like, well, I'm giving away my privacy. Like, no, you got to think about the technology is there to help you.
Yeah.
Right? It's there to track you. But then the question is, an entrepreneur, how do you use it?
Right.
That's what people need to be thinking. People say, well, John, I got interviewed by Success Magazine and said, John, will AI take away people's jobs? My answer is no. AI will not take away people's jobs. It's the people that know how to use AI will take away your job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people need to upskill, right? If you didn't use social media 10 years ago, or didn't have a website as a business 10 years ago, it's a natural thing now. If you don't have a phone, right, you're not in business.
Right. Yeah, it's a fascinating time. I'd say, I mean, I guess this is how everyone feels at any point of being alive, but it feels like at this moment, if you look back at the history of what we know, and then if you think about what the future could hold, it does feel like right now is like a sort of inflection point of time, like where it's like things are really moving fast, and it's sort of how, in a way, like almost like maybe we live at the perfect time, because it's like we have great technology, we get a lot of nice benefits of that, but also, in 20, 30, 50, 100 years from now, like, I mean, thinking about 200 years from now, that's crazy, right? Like,
they're saying with technology now, the human should be able to live to 200 years old.
If you're alive today.
Yeah, 150 to 200. So I was with someone who does a lot of this, like nanotech, all this stuff, and she does like biotech, everything. And so there's a process you can pay for, and it's very expensive, but they can clear every single disease out of your body, and you'll live to 150 to 200.
How much? What's the tag on that?
It's like multiple seven figures.
Right. Probably worth it, right? If you can afford it, what's better than living?
Yeah.
But so that's today multiple seven figures. In 5 years or 10 years, it'll be cheaper, affordable.
Yeah, it's like the chips. The chips were expensive back then, but they're getting cheaper and cheaper.
That's interesting. I haven't heard of that specifically. My personal feeling, and obviously I'm not a scientist or I'm sure there's people that really know better answers, or like this type of technology or thing you're referring to. Yeah. I do feel, because I read, 1 in 3 kids today born will live to 100, something like that, right? Which is a crazy statistic considering the average life for a man's like 72 and a woman's maybe 78, roughly.
When we were kids, right, and we thought like 50 was old. Yeah. Right? And then when you get close to that, like you're getting there. 50 has now become the new 30.
Right. Some of my best friends are 55, 56 years old, and like they seem in great health, and they're doing HGH, or they have the right protocol. Like they look really healthy, and they're the doctors, and they're doing stem cells, and so. I mean, obviously, that's the interesting point though with this thing you're referring to. Do you live to 150 or 200 as a 90-year-old body and thing, or are you going to live to like 150 or 200 as like a 50 or 60-year-old?
Well, that's the. You heard of Brian Johnson? The guy who basically reversed aging, or like he looks like.
Is he the guy that's invested all the money in himself to like he's like obsessed with? Okay, yeah.
So like monitoring sleep and all that stuff, all the supplements that he takes, and all his own formulas. Yeah, but it works, right? But then the question is, are people going to do it? And it won't be long before someone comes up with something to be able to look. AI is smart, right? It's got so much data points now. It can tell how to fix things. Right? You have the right prompts to tell you how to fix things. It won't be long before people start using their brains combined with AI to really have major breakthroughs.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's that's what I'm saying. I think there's a chance that, talk about living forever or living whatever, reversing aging or something. At some point in the next 10 years, 20 years, that's going to become a much more, that's going to become, I think there's going to be a lot. It's just going to not seem crazy to live to 100.
Well, there's a company now that basically when you die, immediately when you die, they put you into a cryo chamber and basically they can revive you once they can know how to fix the disease. It's a company, I think it's in Sweden or Switzerland, somewhere like that.
So you're saying if you die of like cancer, let's say?
Yeah, if you die of cancer, they basically, as soon as you die, bang, they freeze your body, put you into this chamber, and then when they come up with the way to fix it, they put you back in, they can you come to life.
After you die?
There is technology for pre and post, yes.
Okay, but in theory, what you're saying would make, it would make maybe more sense if you were like about to die or your last like maybe getting close, and then you like got frozen. Then that would, but yeah, you want to go, Game of Thrones, drama, that type. But that is interesting. People get at some point, cremation will stop, right? Yeah, people are just gonna be like, I may as well have my body, and maybe something can happen or whatever.
Actually, the other way to do it is, so you got AI and you got generative AI. So we can now take your brain and clone it.
Right. That way would be, that's interesting.
Yeah. So we take your brain and clone it. So here's another question then. What is consciousness? Right? Have you ever had, do you know when you're playing poker and you know that person's bluffing? You know it.
Yeah. Or they have it. Like say you have the second nuts and they bet the river and you're beat, but you're like, I just can't fold. How can I fold second nut flush when they, in this spot? But
but then question, how do you know?
It's just repetitions and feeling.
Right. So it's a feeling, isn't it? It's your gut feeling. So can a machine have consciousness? Can it have a feeling? Right? This is called machine learning. Machine learning is nothing more than your gut feeling, because your gut feeling is based off all the experiences that it's had. Whereas the AGI, the generative AI, will take your base and start thinking like you. That means you can take the consciousness of that. By the way, Elon's already got robot skeletons. Have you seen the skeletons that look like Westworld? Have you seen it?
Is this the thing that you can have in your house for 20, 30,000?
No. It's like really, it's a proper skeletal robot. It's got bones, it's got lungs and everything, right? It's built like a human body. So they can build a skeleton and robot. That's easy. Like that, not easy, but it's easy to achieve. Right? It's not like they can skin it to look real. So if you've ever been to Madame Tussauds, you look at all the things in the film industry, they can make it look very real.
You're saying maybe they could replicate your body, what you look like, and then if you're able to replicate a conscious mind.
So then what's missing? Consciousness, a mind. Where does that come from? AI. So that means I can take your brain, put it into a robot version of you and a skinned version of you, and now you'll be able to play poker like Jeff Gross.
But so is that leading you to the belief that that'd be separate than this thing about living to 150 or 200? But you're saying would there be a way potentially to clone your mind or clone yourself to like a new body?
You're how are you alive? You're alive because you have a consciousness, right? But how is that different if it's in a robot and the robot's learning new things every time? Like how you learn to pick up a phone and use it, how the robot picks up the phone and uses it with your emphasis on that. That's the learning process. So what's the difference between you learning something and your robot learning something? Because it's you.
But would that be? I get it. Is that? But are you looking at that almost as a way to preserve or to
preserve you
at some point? Like maybe you could maybe this is, and obviously probably not cheap, but these things get built or you have it, you get it, and you have like a spare ready, like a spare part or something where you could literally like. Yeah, that is fascinating. That's
what it's going to be in the future.
Right. So
30 years from now, everyone will have their own robot. Someone's in a car accident. Arm just broke. I've got an extra arm. Bang. There you go. Actually, look at a human body. It's very inefficient.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like you lose that, it's gone. Whereas a robot can just put another one on.
So are you confident? You're 43.
Yeah.
Like over under, you think like, okay, do you wake up in the morning and think, okay, I'm gonna live to 150, 200, or even we may be able to not ever go, like if you can do these type of things.
Yeah.
Do you think about that? Do you think that's a favorite?
But then you think about life. What is life?
Right.
Is life supposed to be part of you, leaving part of you behind for somebody else?
Right. Well, no, then we're getting in that. We've been on, this is your second time on the podcast.
Yeah.
That might have to be a third podcast. And we'll go into the, wow. But yeah, no, it's interesting. Like I said, we're in a very interesting time. It's a very interesting time. A lot going on, a lot happening. All right. Well, I know that you're flying back to UK today, or you're going home? Yeah. And tell me the kind of your schedule then. You go home, do you go right back on the road? How long do you have to be at home?
UK for 4 days, then to Dublin, Frankfurt, Dubai, and then where do I go from there? Australia, Bangkok, then Bali.
Then you're in the kind of the end of the year. Very cool. Well, I got to say, this is the second time on. I appreciate it. The third time we'll have to do it again, maybe live from your part of the world, or maybe in Bali. Maybe we'll have a Bali podcast later this year. But I do appreciate it. Where can people, best way to follow you on socials?
Just type in John Lee. You'll see the verified account, or they can, if you go to johnlee.com, they'll see all my socials on there as well.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate the time. And everyone watching, again, this is the Flow Show number 213, John Lee. Appreciate it. Big shout out to Karate Combat, our title sponsor. And we will be having more podcasts very soon. We'll be seeing more of John on the road, and hopefully in Bali, maybe for a part 3. So appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.